Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Packaging Europe podcast. My name is Elisabeth Skoda. Deposit return schemes have gained traction across Europe, with several countries introducing or getting ready to introduce them as a step towards fulfilling collection and reuse obligations outlined in the EU's packaging and packaging waste regulation. And Austria is one of the latest countries to join the ranks of countries introducing such a system, and they introduced it in January 2025. And as I'm from Austria myself originally, and I've seen the change myself when I revisited the country recently, I thought it would be a great time to dive a bit deeper into how such schemes are set up. So, with that, I'm really pleased to welcome Monika Fiala to the podcast today. She's managing director at Recycling Fund Österreich, which is the organization that's in charge of implementing this deposit return system in Austria. And we'll discuss the reasons behind the introductions, challenges to overcome, differences and similarities to other systems in other countries. And we'll also talk about learnings from the scheme several months in and much more. So, with that, welcome, Monika, and thank you very much for being on the podcast today.
Thanks a lot for inviting me.
You're very welcome. To start with, I was wondering, could you tell me a bit more about Recycling Fund Österreich? I understand that you're a non-profit organization that's owned by drinks producers, retailers, and industry associations.
Yes, so we are the operator of the DRS in Austria, and our owners are retailers and producers with 50-50 share. And we started to work beginning of year 23 and had now 2 years to prepare the system, and went live with 1st of January. And our focus, especially in the year 24, was to set up all processes, to put all tenders to the market, to have all suppliers and partners in place with 1st of January. And yes, we started our operation. And up to now, it's running very smoothly, and we are very happy and glad that consumers are happy with the system which is in place now.
That's great to hear, and we'll get a bit more in depth about consumer reactions and how it's going. But first of all, I wanted to ask you what sparked the introduction of a deposit return system in Austria, and what types of packages are included in the system?
So in the system, we have currently plastic packaging and metal cans for ready beverages, ready to drink beverages. That means that we have some exceptions as syrups or milk, some special medicine food, which is also packaged in PET. Those are the exceptions. The deposit fee is stated by law with 25 cents. And overall, from the size of the markets, we expect this year 2.6 billion containers with a 50 share between PET and metal, which we have to take back in a full year in Austria.
And as I mentioned, the scheme officially launched in January 2025. And looking back at the introduction period, what would you say were the biggest logistical and operational hurdles that Recycling Fund Österreich faced during this rollout phase?
So one of the first hurdle is, of course, when you start the operation. So we started in 23, and at that time we were 2 country managers, Simon and I, and no one else. So you have to organize all operational things to make a company work. So from office to laptops and so on. But the key point is afterwards to build a team, because having 2 country managers does not make a central organization work. So I would say in the first year, one of the key parts of our work was to build a team, and that needs a lot of time and resources, and nowadays it's not that easy to find skilled people, at least in Austria. So that was one of the first key tasks in the first year. And second, to finance the system, because as soon as you do something, you need money. And that's the was the second big task, to set up the finance strategy and to set up a modeling in which we did all the financial planning and organize the money. So we were pretty successful to get bank loans, and we did not need bank guarantees from the producers, but we are the first countries financed by loans. So that was the second big area. It's all about financing the system or the pre-period. And the third, I would say, is to set the strategies. To set the strategies together with the owners, the ministry, the board, to have everyone in the boat. That's the third big hurdle. And the second year of preparation, 2024 in our case, is more or less implementing or preparing the processes. That's then more about defining when to do what and how. So that I would say those were the key areas we had to focus on in the first 2 years.
And I was wondering, what role did collaboration with retailers and beverage producers play in ensuring the success of the scheme? And were there any sticking points or challenges to overcome in these partnerships?
So that's a extremely important point, because scheme just can be successful if stakeholders, and the key stakeholders are producers and collectors, if they are working and supporting the DRS. So as we have an owner share of 50-50 between collectors and producers, by nature, we had to find agreements, solutions for every difficult topic, and there are many, um, as as both sides of the owners have to be behind the topic. And therefore, we had monthly meetings with our owners. Uh, we had also monthly meetings with our board and a continuous exchange with the ministry. So we had a very intense frame of alignment with all stakeholders, and tried to keep them in the boat as much as possible, and to keep the information flow as constant as possible, to keep everyone in the loop, and not to kick someone out or to lose someone on the way. So that was from beginning on one of our big tasks, to have everyone in the loop.
And obviously, there's some neighboring countries or other countries in Europe that already have mature deposit return system models, such as Germany or Scandinavian countries. Um, what best practices did you adopt from them, and what did you decide to do differently?
So from beginning on, it was very important for me and Simon to learn from the other countries. So when we started to work, we were visiting, I don't know, 5 to 6 countries, um, to learn and to get in a discussion mode, and to have someone to ask questions, because in Austria you do not find someone who can answer you all those questions. Um, and there were that many things we have stolen with pride from other countries. It would be a long list to which I would have to list now. And what we really appreciated is that we were always welcome to all countries, because everyone is very well aware that he was sitting in the same situation or in that boat at the beginning as well. And that's really, I really would like to mention that this openness of all countries who have already a TRS operating is extremely um, positive and is helping a lot. Yes, and the list which we took over from other countries or where we were stealing with pride is really a very long one. Yeah, that's from logistic tasks, from financial tasks, from security tasks that fraud might be a topic, to marketing tasks that please do not start the campaign too early. So there are that many learnings that would be really a very long list.
It's great to hear that it was such a good collaboration and such easy learning from other countries. That's how it should be, isn't it?
Mhm.
I was also wondering, obviously there was a recycling and waste system before the DRS in Austria. How did you manage to sort of integrate it into the existing system or replace the existing system?
Uh, yeah, that's a very good question because creating a new collection system and replacing the old one creates, of course, a kind of tension between the existing one and the new one, which is up to come. And everyone who followed the Austrian development of the law knows that there was a lot of tension and lobbying against the TRS, which was going quite intensively before the law was finally going through the parliament. Um, when the law was there, many stakeholders were converting and saying, yes, now the law is there and we have to support it. If we were liking it at the beginning or not, that's not the point anymore. That does not count anymore. With the existing collection system or in the past existing collection system, we have meanwhile an exchange which is constructive. There are some point from tax point of view where we were exchanging several times because they had to fight with similar topics or they had to find their way with similar topics as well. So meanwhile, I would say is an exchange. We will not become best friends probably, but a constructive exchange to exchange some kind of knowledge or experiences, and we appreciate that because a law gives the frame, and it's not about having now personal view which should hinder us in an efficient implementation of the system.
That's good to hear. And you hinted at it at the beginning, but I wanted to ask in a bit more detail. How has consumer response been compared to your expectations in terms of participation rates and also in understanding how the scheme works?
So in Austria, we had the luxury that the consumers were always behind this idea. So before we were starting, consumers gave feedback up to 80% that they would like to see this DRS system as they hate the littering, the empties which are around in the nature, and they would like to do an active support to protect nature or to reduce waste of resources. So therefore, our starting point was a really very good one. And the Austrian consumer is already very well aware about deposit systems because we have deposit systems for beverages like beer in retail. We use deposit systems for big events, for the cups. We use it for the very traditional markets we have before Christmas. All the cups are meanwhile with deposit. So the Austrians are very used to it and know the system or how it works really very well. And that's, of course, really a good starting point. Um, so we started with beginning of January our campaign, which was focused to all Austrians from social media to billboards to TV copies. And the latest research gave us the feedback that 75% of the Austrians think that they are well informed, that they know what to do, so that they understand the system. Not everyone was taking part of it meanwhile, but at least their understanding is that they know what to do. And that's, I would say, a real high value after 4.5 months um, of being in place. And yeah, so we have Austrians behind us, and that's really a good result, I would say, after this short period of time.
Yes, I'd agree with that. I was also wondering what have been sort of early environmental and economic impacts of the scheme, if that's measurable yet. Have you seen any measurable reductions in litter or improvements in recycling rates yet?
So the first very obvious, so not for the consumers, but for the producers, the very obvious change is that there is a structure how you can buy your material back. So because in the past, the waste companies were owner of the material. Now it is by law stated that every producer can buy back the material, 90% of the material he brought in. We started the selling process to the producers already. And that means that every producer can buy back the material he was bringing in. And this structure is a very obvious change. Um, which is a big improvement versus what we had in the past. Because in the past, the waste company was selling the material and got the money, um, which represented the value of the material. And we all know that PET and especially aluminium are high value resources. And that's a lot of money what the waste companies had in the past. Um, the second effect, which is immediately in place, is that you do not see packaging, empty packaging, which is part of the deposit system laying around in the nature. So all packaging which you still see is without deposit sign. um, Packaging with a deposit sign are more or less not there anymore, because there is always someone who is collecting those packaging. And we see it already that there are no packaging around anymore with deposit logo.
That's a great result, I would say. I was wondering about how the system has been working for retailers, and especially those smaller retailers who maybe don't have reverse vending machines in their shop. Have you had any feedback from them about that?
So first of all, we have many retailers with reverse vending machines. Um, as there was a subsidy for those, or there is a subsidy for those RVMs. And the smaller ones, which do manual collection, this process is now just starting. And yes, for those, it is a real change because they have to have the bags from us and to collect the empties. And we collect the bags, and afterwards they get the money back. So this process is definitely a change. And some of those collectors are still in the modus to find the right or an efficient way how to do it. But overall, we see that especially bakeries or chains who have more of those collection points found already their way how to operate it and how to do it in their small shops.
And on the subject of reverse vending machines, I was generally wondering how digital innovation like reverse vending technology or maybe also app-based systems are being leveraged in Austria's system, and what could be the next step towards boosting that a bit more.
So there are definitely developments ahead of us. So now in the implementation period, it's more or less the same what we had in the past about the RVMs. But there we have on one hand to see that the RVMs belong to retailers, so they are investing in those RVMs. And on the other hand, that the preparation period was really very tight. And for us, it was important that we have a system which is working, and the innovations or the implementation of uh, innovative ways of RVMs will now come next or might come next. So we have already retailers who have the vouchers app-based. So that started already, and the next will follow. And we definitely see that now will come some further developments of collectors who will offer app-based payout on the RVMs. So there will few further steps follow. It just needs some time, and I would say within half a year or next year we will see further innovations in that area which will follow in the next months to be implemented.
And my final question was to wrap up. Looking ahead, are there any plans to scale or evolve the systems, like, for example, expand the range of materials that are covered or introduce new incentives beyond a deposit?
So that's a question which has to be asked to the ministry. Up to now, we do not see that there is something which will follow in the short run, but I'm pretty sure that there will be further developments, but it's more on the legislation point that this has to be fixed, because we are the place or we are the organization who is implementing what the law is stating. So that's more on the legislation side and not on our side.
Hmm. Yes, that makes sense. Thank you. So yeah, that brings us to the end of today's conversation. It's been really interesting to find out more about Austria's deposit return system, and yeah, hopefully maybe this will serve as inspiration maybe to people from other countries who are still in the process of thinking about it to maybe go for it as well. Thanks very much, Monica, for being on the podcast today. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks very much. Goodbye.